Today on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, it's the best of food.
From biscuits to salsa to chocolate and much more.
We're looking back at some of our best segments devoted to food next on Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Hello, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We hope you're hungry because today on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, it's all about food.
And we start with Duck Donuts. I spoke with owner Hunter Davis, who owns multiple locations in Virginia Beach, and we talked about knowing the right time to expand. Hunter Davis, Duck Donuts, excited to be here. So you guys have expanded and done multiple locations now. How do you know when it's the right time to do that? How do you check your books, understand that there's enough money that the banks are going to be good for you? How do you understand that kind of process?
Well, we're fortunate to have a lot of differing viewpoints, a lot of differing opinions on when to go, and usually the answer is somewhere in the middle. I'm typically the no guy, typically, yeah. But in general, I mean, it's when we're all comfortable with it. But I think also too, you can have as much money to do any location, but if you don't see that there's going to be the immediate turnaround and start getting customers in, then it's not going to be there. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. We look at, in addition to looking at the bank, we're also looking at the location. We're trying to check the traffic that's going through a certain area, because that's we have a product that people can get and kind of be on the go, you know. So that's something that we're looking at too.
What type of data points do you look at? We're on a very busy Virginia Beach Boulevard right here.
Sure.
What are the numbers that you're looking for that, and how do you understand how much of them can come into you?
I mean, as much as I am a data guy, a lot of too where I like to look at things is from the perspective of just eye shot. If I start seeing a lot of cars going down the street and I start seeing people walking past here, you know, I could do as much research as I want to, but if I see people walking past, I have a rough indication that that's probably going to be a good spot for it. Also looking at, you know, places, we have a family-based product, so we're looking for families and things like that, because kids, they love to come watch all this stuff. They love to look at through the glass and see everybody making it. It's a fun thing, you know. So that's another thing that we look at too.
What type of marketing do you do? So let's say the traffic's good, you like the location. How do you actually bring them in? How do you kind of close the sale and say, hey, Duck Donuts is here, and
we do some radio advertisement. We do some print advertisement. So, for example, down at the oceanfront, we do a lot of, there's a lot of these pamphlets, that are brochures and stuff like that are in the hotel rooms, that are when you get your key card and things like that. So we try to get people who have, haven't ever tried the product before, never even heard of the product before, let them see it. So we happen to have a high tourist market here.
Sure.
So that's a key too, along with families and things like that. We have people who've never had it before, and they see something down there, and it's, hey, that sounds really good for breakfast, So
how do you track that the oceanfront was better than maybe downtown or the peninsula or something like that? How do you understand that person's coming from one of those areas?
Where they're coming from? I mean, that's a little bit hard to necessarily say for each customer. We're not asking everybody, hey, where are you from, whatnot. Yeah. But a lot of times, like I said, we find out a lot of that from things that we get online, emails and whatnot. People saying, hey, come here. So that's that kind of gives us a little indication of where people are coming from, but we don't ask people at the register.
You were looking a few years ago to maybe start a business. Sure. You decided to go into franchising, the franchise model. How did you decide that franchising was what you wanted to do?
For myself, my father and my brother, I don't know that franchising necessarily was the only avenue that we were looking at, but seeing what they had, seeing this model, I mean, I can hardly boil water myself. Yeah. So seeing people who know how to do the restaurant business and do it effectively, that definitely, sold us to some degree. But I think that you're starting to see, I think one that's interesting with Duck Donuts is you're starting to see this kind of movement in the market back towards mom and pops. You know what I mean? You had, over the years, you had a lot of the big box places kind of putting out the mom and pop places. And now you're starting to see mom and pops coming back, but operating with good business models.
Right.
I think that's actually the future. You see places like Tivana that are specialty shops, things like that. I think that's the way the market's heading.
So really creating the playbook or the franchise model around the mom and pop shop, but how you can figure that out at every different location.
Yeah, that was one of the things with talking with the people who founded Duck Donuts. They were very, very customer oriented. They didn't want to do the digital touchscreens. They wanted to be interactive with the people, that kind of mom and pop type thing. And I mean, it started as a mom and pop thing. It's growing quickly though.
If someone was watching and on the fence about maybe getting into a franchise, what would you say to them?
I would say go for it. I mean, that's the American dream, is to go into business and try and succeed. Try and fail, but try and succeed if you can, and give it all you got.
Hunter Davis,
Thanks so much, sir.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
He took his business from his dorm room to store shelves all over the world. More on Sabrosa Foods next.
And as I always teach, and once that need is there and it identifies itself, you have to be prepared to service that need, and we were prepared.
Dwayne, 20 years ago, you were a college football player, and I know after one bad football game, you started an idea that led to some great success, and now in 2015, a multi-million-dollar company. How'd that happen?
Wow. It was one day after a football game. Went to Virginia State University, and my grandmother, who lived in Newport News, Virginia, used to have a small garden, and she would grow produce and bring the produce up every weekend during the game. But after this one particular game, we happened to lose. The coach kept us pretty long from what I can remember. And when I finally got out and got back to my dorm room, I get there and about 10 to 15 guys are in my room, and everybody has a plate of something that my grandmother brought. And I was highly upset. that's putting it mildly. And I ended up putting people out my room. And what was left was, I remember it was some vegetables. There was a bag of old stale chips. And I took the vegetables that was in there, mixed it up, had an illegal hot plate that was in the room. And I made my first salsa. And that was the beginning of what we started making years later.
Your story is such a great one because you started it to serve a need, to solve a problem, and because you were angry.
Correct.
But then you took it and you worked a day job and then worked to grow your company and then grew it. Talk to us about that evolution. How'd that happen?
I felt that there was a market that we could appeal to put this product in. And that's what I did. I actually started going after, I want to say it was a test market more so than really stores. I was going to farmers markets and trying this product and saw people were really liking it. So I felt the next progression of the company was to now take this proven product and place it into an actual market that I identified.
Gotcha. And so I know now that your company is salsa, but then something else. And that something else has grown it to just a huge level.
Yep.
So talk about that.
Well, what we found is about 3 years ago, we entered the federal government arena. We got into about 60 commissaries around the country. Well, not too long after, the federal government said, Sabrosa Foods is set up as a food company, but you also have the capabilities of providing a service for us at our dining hall facilities. So we one day I came to my office and there is a document on my desk that says, hey, you've been identified as this company that have these credentials that could do this service related job. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, we don't do this. So I talked to a couple of my mentors and I decided that we were going to go out and try this opportunity. And we did. And, here it is. 4 years later, we've been in the federal government marketplace now for 3 of those years.
So you started out putting product in stores, and then the government comes to you and says, wait a minute, you know how to put product in stores. You can also help service the kitchens and the food service areas in the military.
Correct. Yeah, who would have figured?
And I know that you were not prepared in the beginning, but you became prepared.
Yes.
You learned very quickly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I always teach, and once that need is there and it identifies itself, you have to be prepared to service that need. And we were prepared.
Anything else you'd like to add? Any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs, whether they're product-based or service-based or whatever it is, they're just entrepreneurs wanting to serve?
Well, I think, I will always start off saying, if you have a passion for something and you're currently doing it, you're doing it maybe as a hobby, or you may even have a small business, I would probably say continue to go after it and continue to do it. But there may be it depends on how big you want to get. But there may be a grander scale at which you can do it on. So, we're coming out of a book next year too. So in January of next year. So hopefully we can address a lot of that in our book as we come out.
About going bigger.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Scaling
Dwayne
up.
Thompson, thank you very much, and congratulations on being our Entrepreneur of the Week.
Thank you very much.
Hey there, Hampton Roads. We want to hear what you have to say about Hampton Roads Business Weekly. If you have questions or comments about the show, tweet us at HR Biz Weekly. More Hampton Roads Business Weekly to come. First, though, a new segment we're calling the TAN Plan. Today, I'm talking about 3 mistakes you may be making when you're pitching stories to the media. Mistake number 1, you're sending out mass emails. Chances are pretty good that the event that you're pitching won't be of interest to every single media outlet in your zip code, so save yourself some time. Instead, send targeted emails to media outlets that would be interested in hearing more about what you're offering. Mistake number 2, you're getting important details wrong, like spelling the names incorrectly of the producers, reporters, or editors that you're sending to, or you're mixing up media outlets, and this happens more often than you would think. Mistake number 3, you're selling a product or a service and that's all you do in your media pitch. Instead, be clear and concise and share a story idea that media outlet would like to tell their audience. If you'd like more tips on how to connect with influencers like the media, you can go to CherylTanMedia.com. We'll be right back. Brenda Tusing, co-owner of the Royal Chocolate in Virginia Beach. Thanks so much for inviting us into your store.
Oh, thank you for being here this morning.
I don't know if my crew and I will leave. It smells
That's
so
okay.
good in
We're
here.
open till 9. You've got plenty of time.
Your partner in crime, Terry Reston, is floating around. She is training a new chocolate maker, which I think is so much fun, and we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
I want to discuss, though, how you got your start in business.
Well, in this business, Terry and I opened this store 10 years ago, this year actually, so it's a big anniversary for us. We'll be doing a little celebration. But we started much before we actually opened the doors. We started talking about what to do. Chocolate had come up and looked at a franchise actually in the beginning, but decided we really didn't want to be a franchise. We wanted to be more independent than that, to do our own thing. We traveled around, we went to New York, we went to shows, just read a lot about what do we want to incorporate into this space.
So talk about some challenges, as people might not think that there are challenges in the chocolate business, but the recession hit.
Yeah.
And it affected so many companies, and I know it had to have affected yours as well.
It did. It did affect everybody, and we were very new just in the first few years, and what we found immediately was corporate business kind of went away, because when corporate is looking at gifting, and we do beautiful gifting, that's their first line item to go. You know, if you're going to have to let go of an employee or not do your gifting, what are you going to do? So it was a pretty easy choice for them, I'm sure, but it was a very difficult choice for us.
You're training a new chocolate maker.
We are.
Sounds very exciting.
It is.
But it also means you're growing and bringing new people into the fold.
Sure.
So talk a bit about how you bring new people into the Royal Chocolate family.
Well, it always starts, initially with the hiring practice, the filling out of the application. We do not have applications online, for example. We want people to come into the store and fill out an application because we want that face-to-face, and we really want it to get a little bit of a sense of how does that person present themselves? Do they interact with you well? Do they make eye contact? Those little basic things that you want to see in a person. They fill out an application. Of course, we're looking for availability and that sort of thing. And then Terry does really all of the hiring and the interviewing. It's a process that she goes through. She takes a great deal of time with it. If the candidate looks and seems to be like somebody that would work here, she would go ahead with an interview process with them. We do a test as part of our interview process. It's a skills test. It's been very accurate in helping us pinpoint certain things about people, but at the end of the day, we need someone who loves working here, loves interacting with people, and has that spirit of wanting everybody who leaves our store to be happy. Happy with what they purchased, happy with their experience. You want them to be able to share chocolate with them, help them find new things. It's a lot of fun, but you have to have that enthusiasm for it. You can't hire someone to stand at the register and just make the exchange of product and money. That is absolutely not what we're about.
You've created a wonderful, sweet world.
Yeah.
Any last words of advice for entrepreneurs who want to create something of their own, a business of their own?
I think you have to really have a passion for it. You have to really want to do it. You can't think, well, that would be kind of cool to do. Yeah, it might be cool to do, but it's going to be a lot of work. And the hard thing is going to be letting people know that you're there, especially a brick and mortar. Businesses that don't have the brick and mortar can go out into the community, which we do as well, and network and that sort of thing. But it's going to be a little trickier when you're brick and mortar. And you've got to you've got to find creative ways to let people know you exist. Yeah, and talk to other entrepreneurs, because truthfully, we have a lot of experience now, and we would love to share that with people. Anybody.
People, I'm sure, will love to hear that. Brenda, thank you so much, and congratulations on your milestone here.
Thank you very much.
Coming up, it's one of Hampton Road's hidden gems. My conversation with John Porter of Handsome Biscuit. It's next. Welcome back to Hampton Roads Business Weekly. We are here at Handsome Biscuit with John Porter. John, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
So I think a lot of people know about a lot of your endeavors, Handsome Biscuit, Toast, Field Guides. How did you get into the business world?
In the business world, well, I started selling paper bookmarks to my neighbors when I was about 7. But beyond that, fast forward a few decades.
Always starts young.
Right. I have always been interested in around restaurants, worked in some as well, and started brainstorming with my brother-in-law, Dave Hausman, and we decided we'd give it a go.
You guys have unique stuff. Handsome Biscuit is in an area where a lot of people probably wouldn't have decided to start a business. Why did you guys choose this concept in this location?
Well, a few reasons. We wanted something small to make sure we could create energy, also something we could easily afford, and we really like the idea of building people and communities, and so this was an area we felt like had a lot of potential geographically and with some of the particular real estate around, so we decided to start here.
You have 4 restaurants now.
Yes.
And potentially opening a couple more over the coming years, and each one is a different concept. So let's say that let's just say that there are franchises, right? And so usually when you franchise, you have kind of a playbook and you can always do the same thing over and over again in different locations. But you have gone a different way and said, we like Handsome Biscuit here, across the street we like Toast, and downtown we like Field Guide. Why do so many different things, and how do you manage them from a day-to-day with 2 other companies that you own as well?
So I think at the outset they certainly seem and are very different, but behind the scenes we try to keep as much of the mechanics similar as possible. So like a potential franchise, all of the systems behind the scenes are pretty much the same. What we do is we change the concept and change the specific offering. Doesn't mean that it's super simple, but again, we've taken on sort of that extra piece of interest because we want to add energy to the local community here, and popping up the same place on different street corners doesn't necessarily do that. Different concepts do, as we see different things that are maybe lacking in the market or something we think that could do well and people will get excited about. That's sort of where our minds go.
What is your favorite tool that you use for business?
Favorite tool? Wow.
What's the app that you open up the most on your phone?
It's probably either Trello or Slack, one of the two. We use them, both of them, a lot. One of them Slack really to communicate and keep communication organized, and then Trello really to organize everything from sort of long range, more aspirational projects down to shorter term kind of things that we want to try and implement.
So do you use Slack? So Slack is a online communication tool. Do you use that for your employees plus management?
Yes. So there are different channels that you create, both private and public within your organization, and it's a great place. Instead of as we have sort of grown, text messaging started to get a little unruly, and it was hard to find things, and it was hard to know what to respond to or what to be looking for, and so Slack has given us just enough definition to be able to do what we want, but not too overarching to kind of become cumbersome.
Favorite way to market a business?
Word of mouth.
So how do you do that?
Create experiences that people can't forget.
So you see that Norfolk is kind of becoming its own other city that people start to talk about, right? What does that mean to you that you've been able to be a part of that now people are seeing Norfolk as being a part of that and starting to use some of your brands as that? How is that kind of influencing you to do the next things that you want to do?
It really feels great, personally. Sort of, it's very gratifying. Being a part of something that is developing and growing is really great. I think there's a snowball effect for sure, and I hope that continues. Where there are certainly people who, including myself, but many others who have gone out and blazed a trail here locally, and some of that fruit is starting to sort of ripen, and now we have something that's growing. So it feels great.
Awesome, John Porter. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
That wraps up another edition of Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Like us on Facebook and Instagram at HR Business Weekly.
There, you will find segments from previous shows, plus some great behind-the-scenes pictures and videos. For Hampton Roads Business Weekly, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We'll see you next week.
Hampton Roads Business Weekly, sponsored by Regent University and produced by ABC 13.